All right, welcome everyone. It's Doug here with the LincolnList.com. This is the weekly stock market review for the 8th of June. Hope all is well with you this month. As always, if you need help with your trading, feel free to visit the LincolnList.com, take the 14-day free trial, see all the trades made in real time live on screen, and decide for yourself if that's the kind of educational format that can help you excel as a trader. We'll start out here just by taking a brief look at the SPY. We might be in a situation here where we could see a little bit of a fade, and I say might because we have broken this shorter term trend that started back into March. Not a really long term trend, so we're just going to have to see how things work out. And Friday's close was underneath of the 50 moving average on the daily chart here. Now, every time we've kind of dipped underneath of that, it's rallied back pretty quick. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out on Monday and Tuesday. Now, if you've been following a lot of these recaps, I wouldn't really look deeper into a correction in this market until we started either getting down into some of this support of 206, 207, and more importantly, going back into March some of these 203s. Now, if we get down into these areas and threaten these areas or perhaps close into those, then maybe we would see something a little longer term as far as maybe a month or two of a correction. But until that happens, it most likely will be business as usual, market kind of chopping back here and forth. None of this really means much because we're seeing certain sectors just continue to defy trends, such as the biotech space. There's always a single-digit cheap microcap stock that's exploding 100 to 200% a day. So right now, to me, it feels like just paying any attention to the SPY or judging any kind of market indicators is absolutely worthless because, of course, that could change. That could change at any time, but right now it seems worthless because there's always a basket of stocks that are just ripping to new highs even when the market's down. We're going to talk about some of those. I'm going to start out with a couple of possible short ideas going into the beginning of the week, and then we're going to finish it up with a couple of long plays. I want to start with SINA as something I want to start looking at short. We took a couple of shots on this. And sometimes when you're trading these stocks, when they're in this front side move, we like to call it the front side, or also known as the accumulation phase, these things can be very, very powerful. So what you do in these situations is you take your shots, you pick the spots where you're willing to do business on the charts, you make your shorts. But in these front side phases, you can't get stubborn. If that short's not working out or it's taken too long to transpire, then you've got to kind of move away from the stock because it just could be consolidating and re-gearing for higher moves. Even if the move's already too high, this is what can happen. I mean, even if it doesn't make any sense, ask the people in VLTC, ask those in PTBI. I mean, these stocks can go a lot higher than you could possibly imagine sometimes, and it's okay to short them if you have reason to. But in these front side moves, you don't want to get too aggressive and you want to pick your spots, and if it doesn't work out. Now, having kind of said all of that there, that's what we kind of did. We took a few spots here short, but it just never really kind of panned out. We got an 80 RSI on the daily chart, a pretty good move price-wise, about 12, 13 bucks here over the last week in price. So I'll be looking for certain areas to make a short. Now, what I'm looking for is the parabolic open or the gap up. If there's some way that we can capture some morning euphoria where everybody kind of looks at this chart over the weekend and decides they want to chase it, and we start gapping maybe 57s, 8s, maybe straight into 60, who knows, then I would like to get short. Only on these kind of moves I'm interested in right now, like this, where you get a lot of grinding or a lot of parabolic or a nice, really good push, several greens in a row on an intraday chart, sets up nice. That's where I would like to do the short. Same thing I mentioned to you earlier. If you get in it and it doesn't work out right away, or you're having a little bit of tough time, don't fight it right now because there still could be some upside room. There will eventually become a backside or a distribution cycle, so to speak, and you'll want to participate in that. That's when you can be a little bit more aggressive. But for now, we want to look for a couple of spots here. Now, on the flip side of that, I wouldn't rule out a long if this thing was to gap down, because the first thing that's probably going to happen is if this thing was to gap down or start the day with a couple of reds, I would not be surprised to see people chase into that short. And we've seen that move. I highlighted it last week several times with ADXS. It's a trap. It'll suck that thing down nice and red, make people chase the short, and then turn around and rip on them. So maybe in that case, if it's a nice little flush to start the day, I wouldn't be opposed to buying it, all just based on that short covering rally and that nice snapback. So SINA, let's watch that one. Now, as I go through these, all of them are pretty much going to be the same theory as the way I'd like to trade them. And another one would be this PRTA. This thing's been on quite a roll itself. You know, pretty much the same kind of chart. Nice bounce, 36 to 46, $10 of price last week. So kind of want to look at this one for the same thing. Now this closed Friday at highs. You see it broke this nice resistance area of 45.29. So I'm looking for the same thing as what we were looking for there on SINA, is if we can gap or if we can get some strength early, there could be a nice spot to make a short. And remember, if you get into the short and you're having a tough time, or there's still a lot of volume and it just seems to consolidate and grind it out, don't fight the thing. Just come back to it a little bit later. You know, that distribution cycle will come into this stock as it does with everyone, but what you don't want to do is murder your account in the process. Same thing here. If we get a nice little pullback or a dip or a flush like that, then I wouldn't be opposed as, you know, possibly buying this thing. You can make the same claim here for RXDX. This one's in a little bit better condition, I think, for a short, because you have a little more parabolic movement and a lot higher RSI. You're moving into 88, which is extremely overbought. And this one's been doing the same thing. And you could probably add, no, you can't probably, you could add HRTX, HRTX to that one as well. A lot of price change in that. But this one here, very parabolic, super steep RSI. Want to short it. Same thing. Not going to continue to repeat myself. Maybe we get a good pop 19 and 20. We can work off of that top side number for a short. Now, all of those are short ideas. They do have to do a few things to set up, and that's why I mentioned if you need help and you're kind of confused on what exactly the kind of setup you're looking for, how to be able to drop your biases and change and just trade what the chart's telling you, that's why you visit thelinkinlist.com and take that 14-day free trial. Now, let's kind of switch over and look at possibly a couple of longs here. The China name's still hot. Like the CMCM is something else I want to add to the list here. Nice little flag setting up. You got your nice little pullback, and just kind of touching back on some of the shorts that we're looking for. This is kind of what you do. You get these long up runs, and as soon as you start to get some red, you get a nice little backside move, or so to speak, into the moving average. Now this one just kind of held the 10 on the daily. Flagging here, I would think if these sectors are hot again and people start to accumulate these, as they have been with the Yokus, the rest of these, you know, stocks like this, then you go above this 35.50, you're probably going to challenge the highs to 36.63, and then perhaps you might see another wave of a move to the upside that may send you somewhere close to 40. We're going to have to see how it works out, because a chart that looks like this, although it's consolidating and flagging and is perking and it looks like it wants to challenge that, it might just run up towards that area of resistance and then get rejected and start selling off after that. I mean, you may end up into a double top scenario or a lower high or something like that, and it starts to grind back down. So it's going to have to do a few things to really instill that confidence, but you could see some of these shorter term levels get taken out early, and especially if everybody's in that buying mode or that frame Monday, you might see this thing at least make an attempt to work its way up to the 36.63s. And if you kind of remember, a couple of weeks ago, SRPT, super huge move, big old gap up, spent the last few days fighting it off. Now, after a week or so, you're seeing this thing start to curl back up. Same thing here, you know, finding some support on a very short-term 10-period moving average on a daily chart. Big perk on that daily. You're right here at a pretty pivotal number, this 27.20. This thing has not, it's gone above that number, but it hasn't closed above that 27 number. Even on this big day, you got up here to 27.30s. It faded. It come up here a few times, just got slightly above 27, pulled back in. Now on Friday's closure at 26.71. So this 27 is a pretty significant number. I would be really, odds are in this kind of situation you're going to see that move try to get taken out on Monday. Now, as to whether or not this is going to hold, that's really the story here. If that number can hold, it can break that, and that can then become support for the stock and come back down there and hold that, then you might see another big parabolic run here out of this SRPT. As always, it's all speculative. You know, the thing has to set up, and then it has to perform well, and it has to do certain things. Just because you have certain ideas with the chart doesn't mean that they're always going to work out, because they don't. But I like this one here because you're so close to that 27. It's such an important number right now. If it makes quick work of that, you just might see this thing rip. And it's a therapeutic, you know, biotechs. You always got some biotechs running like crazy every day. At least one or two of them are, even if the market's in the shitter, excuse my language, it's still finding these bios ripping like crazy. Anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about. You know, I ended it off with a little bit of vulgarity there at the end. Please excuse my language. I deeply apologize, but sometimes it comes out that way. Anyway, if you guys need any help with your trading, take a moment, visit the lincolnlist.com. We've had incredible consistency, counts up over 100% this year. It is a grind at times, and the market can be tough, but sometimes it helps to be in the right kind of environment, around the right kind of people that can just keep that momentum going. Just kind of keep grinding and keep chipping away at it every single day of the week. So if you're kind of looking to get to the next level, just take a moment, visit the lincolnlist.com, take that 14-day free trial, see us trade in real time, and decide for yourself. Other than that, you guys have a great week trading. Talk to you soon.